Hello, Vankas. Cameron, give us one.
What's up, Frankas?
Yes! It's Monaco, baby! And, you know, Matt said, what a perfect time for me to go on my honeymoon for the most boring race of the year. I will take this race off. I'll let someone else take the beach and discuss Monaco, because what will there be to discuss from the Monaco Grand Prix? It's boring every time, but no, baby, not this year. This was an insane race, Cameron.
Just a little bit, mate. There's a couple of F1-centric threads which we need to pull. There's bloody Antonelli, Charles Leclerc, mistake merchant. I mean, where do you want to start, fella? It's bonkers.
It is absolute insanity. This is, of course, the Red Flags, part of the Vox Media Network. Matt is on his honeymoon. He is living it up in Italy, and it's a good day. Well, it's a good and bad day for Italy in the Formula One world, because, you know, their native son, Kimi Antonelli, wins Monaco in a decisive manner, looking like he does not even, this kid has ice in his veins. But then their adopted son, Charles Leclerc, strikes tragedy once again. The Monaco curse continues for the boy. But there's just so much. There's so much to discuss. I think maybe let's try to go somewhat chronologically, and maybe we just start with the Max Verstappen of it all.
Oh, mate, do we need to?
I mean, I thought that was going to be the story of the race, and then all of a sudden the rest of the race happens, and it's like, no, what happened to Max Verstappen? I don't even remember. But I guess I know that you love a Max. I know that you're a bit of a Max guy.
A little bit, mate.
And
a little bit.
This whole year has been like the Max Verstappen isn't happy year, right? Max Verstappen's like pissed off. He doesn't like what's going on in Formula One. And then it seemed like he's finally coming around to it. You know, the car looks a little bit hooked up. He has, you know, the qualifying was pretty thrilling. He said multiple times in his interview afterwards with Jenson Button, you know, pretty happy with what we did today, pretty happy with the development of the car. And then right back into misery for one Max Verstappen.
Mate, I was devastated with that. I felt like the whole race and it's being entertaining was dependent on Max pushing Kimi. You got the master and the student, right? And I wanted to see that for 78 laps. And as soon as whatever happened to Max Verstappen happens, I'm like, oh, I've got to do this for 78 laps, mate. What you give me nothing, Monaco Grand Prix yet again. But no, to your point, bro, I think I think Max is playing his way into the 2026 Drivers' Championship. Chris, he won't win. The big story is what happens to him after the summer break, because I don't think he's going to put up with this Red Bull nonsense for too long. Best driver in the world, driving the worst F1 car in the world, like it's a snap oversteer merchant, understeer, can't get off the bloody start, doesn't brake, doesn't go well on curbs. Where is the redeeming feature? So I think Max is gone. But again, he's liking it. I think Monaco is a bit of an anomaly as far as the rules are concerned. It is still the Mario Kart Championship. It is still Viagra settings. When we get to Barcelona next race weekend, you are going to see the engines doing that anticlimactic whir again for 100%. But I think Max is happy when it looks and feels a little bit traction limited, like what we're used to. But I don't know, mate. I think Max did ever so well in quali. I was convinced, mate, that he was going to drop it on pole, but then in comes the young Padawan Kimi Antonelli, like showing his greatness, Brian. I don't know, mate. I don't know what to think or feel.
Yeah, there's so much there. I guess my thought with the Max of it all is like, you know, it feels like it's someone who's like, are they going to quit their job or are they not going to quit their job, right? Like every week it's kind of like, what's going to happen? Where is Max with regard, you know, it's like someone who keeps talking about how they're going to break up with their partner. You know, I want to break up with them. I want to break up with them. But then, you know, they have a nice weekend. They go on a vacation and then all of a sudden they're feeling good again. But then it's like they go on vacation, everything's looking amazing. It's like maybe they'll get the spark. Maybe the spark of the love for Formula One will come back. And then they get to the hotel room and there's a leak and there's shit pouring out of your ceiling. That's what happened to Max Verstappen today.
The wedding's up, mate. I think he's there was an interview that came out, Eric Van Haren of The Telegraph, in which he said that he thinks Max will stay if they change the rules to 60-40 next year. Big if, because you need a super majority, and the likes of Ferrari are dependent on ADUO and don't want their advantage to go away in 2027. But I think they'll do 60-40 and then Max will stay. But where, Brian, is the key question. No way are you going to but no way are you going to bet that Max Verstappen's going to say at Red Bull. If this carries on with a performance clause in his contract, summer break, needs to be within the top 3, currently sits, where is he, 7th or 8th in the championship going into Monaco? No chance. Why would he stay, Brian? Why? What for?
Because he told Dietrich on his deathbed. He told Dietrich on his deathbed, I'm never leaving Dietrich.
Brian, behave. You can't say that with Max exists, for me, Max exists only to win F1 races. Even Jos said, you know what, we did promise Dietrich that we were going to stay. But things change, Brian. Yeah. We promised to stay on the proviso that Red Bull were going to give us a car that we could win races with. And where is that? Where's that been, Brian? Nowhere, chap. He's gone. Summer break. Next couple of months.
Okay, but where is he going? Where's he going?
Mercedes, I think. It looked like McLaren when GP said he was going over there. I hesitated for a second and started to change my mind. But seeing Nostradamus sit down with Toto quite openly in the motorhome at the Canadian Grand Prix, I was like, and then knowing now that George has got a performance clause in his contract per Eric Van Haren that if he doesn't beat Kimi Antonelli, then ciao, George. Hasta la vista, mate. So
well, let's move right into that because you know, obviously George has had the season from hell, just an absolute hell of a season. I mean, he wins in Australia, and since then it's just been carnage. After what happened in Canada, you kind of looked at Monaco. Okay, let's get this thing back together. Let's show the experience. Let's be the elder statesman. And then the whole weekend, he looks off. He's not even close to Kimi. Kimi's just is flying off into the distance. During qualifying, they weren't even talking about George. I mean, George was completely irrelevant in qualifying. And then obviously his race was what it was today. I mean, you know, it chaos abound. We can discuss what happened within the penalty and the lack of the drive-through and them fucking that up. Who's to blame there? But I think more so what's alarming about what I saw this weekend was, you know, I've been kind of a skeptic of Kimi. You know, I felt like last year George really, to me, was the second best driver in Formula One. I thought that he looked fantastic. He looked on top of it. He looked like he was really coming into his strength as a Formula One driver. And then this year, he's had the bad luck, but now there have been enough races where Kimi is either right with him and right on his tail, or in Monaco, you know, leagues ahead of him.
It's a problem, mate. Real big problem. And this, as somebody who's just jumped on the George Russell bandwagon. I saw him out qualifying Max Verstappen last year, and I thought, okay, so this dude's got something. If you can do that to Max there, I think you've got something. He's a killer. He's one of only a few bods to nail F2 and F3 in the first year. Lewis did it. Charles did it as well. George did it. Oscar did it. So he's breathing rarefied there, mate. He's got pedigree. But the second that I jump on the bandwagon, Byron, this dude's making me look like an absolute numpty. You're going to have to revoke my F1 pimp card soon. Like, I've got no real knowledge. He's getting spanked. And you know what the problem is for me, mate? Like, I understand the excuses around low traction or low grip tracks. I get it. Like, every driver has their favourites. I was expecting, though, George to absolutely mollywop Kimi around Canada, and he didn't. Probably would have won, but for the bloody reliability thing. But how close was it? If Kimi Antonelli puts together his best hypothetical lap, he out-qualifies George, and what's the excuse now? Because you're a Canadian Grand Prix specialist, or meant to be, and you got this young 19-year-old like sucking it to you, mate, making you look like you're a little bit amateurish at times, and that concern. I think George will come back though, Brian. I don't want to write.
Yeah.
You know, we can be prisoners of the now in F1. Everything is,
of course,
what have you done for me lately? I think George, the gap won't be so big as at the end of the season, but it looks bad, bro. Right now.
Well, what's the gap? What's the points gap?
60-something
right
points.
Now.
It was 43 coming in. I think it might be 66 points now.
156 to 91.
My gosh. Mate. 65 points. But what are we doing here, Jack? 6 races.
60. That's a deep hole.
Oh, George. What are we doing? Right. But then, chap, again, the George Russell fan in me wants to argue China, Japan, bad luck, poor, like the safety car timing screwed him over, and a dodgy setup. But I don't know. There's a big enough sample size now to say that Kimi Antonelli might be the next one, bro. I don't know, fella. Me and you watch enough sports to see like the Tigers come through, and the John Bones Jones and the Maxes and the Lewis. Mate, I'm starting to fit. This looks a lot like that. He's even wearing the bloody blue of Senna, like the Nacional cap that Senna used to wear. I'm like, oh my God, maybe this is maybe he's the next one, chap. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, he's looking like, I mean, today was unbelievable. Today was, I don't use this lightly. This was Senna-esque.
Brian, can I disagree with you respectfully, sir? I don't think today was the highlight, chap. It was yesterday, mate. I expect Kimi Antonelli, 19 years old or whatever, to Monaco is just play defense and you're good for 78 laps. Don't do anything stupid for 78 laps and you'll nail it in a bloody W17 Mercedes, ostensibly the quickest machine on the grid. Yesterday, though, Brian, when Max Verstappen, how many times, chap, over the last 24 months have we seen Max Verstappen put it on provisional pole in the dying embers with seconds to go? Kenny Smith settings, let's go home, ladies and gentlemen, it's done, full stop, new paragraph. And then all of a sudden you see ANT come above VER on. I'm like, what? What are we doing here? How's he done that?
Right.
Just not supposed to happen. And that's what freaked me out, chap. That's special. That's goatedness.
I am beginning to believe. I am beginning to believe in the boy. I mean, I guess, of course, yesterday, I just, when he pulled, I mean, at one point, what was it, a 28 second gap, and he's putting in fastest laps. Bono has to come onto the radio and say, all right, that's enough. That's enough. I mean, that speaks to, that speaks to a mentality, right? That speaks to no, I don't want to just win. I want to step on your throats. I want to prove to you that I am the best, that I am here. This is not a fluke. I am the quickest out here. I'm playing for keeps.
Yeah,
I guess is my, and then, they do a restart, and the Achilles heel for him the entire year has been the starts, and he's got 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton in second place, and he holds it, doesn't even sweat. I mean, it was like nothing. And I understand he's in the best car. I understand he's in the best car on the grid, but if there was ever a track for the Ferrari to be able to have that edge, it would be this one.
When he goes out and nails it, mate. They say that F1 history doesn't repeat, but sometimes it does rhyme. I've long said that F1 fans are numpties for trying to link this dude to Senna, notwithstanding the blue cap and the Nacional and the fact that he looks a lot like Senna. But the way that he's pushing, chap, reminded me of Senna when he crashed in 88, mate, lap 66 or whatever it was. To your point, Brian, he doesn't
trying
just
to
want to
Prost.
win.
He wants to. That's what today it was. I mean, listen. I know there's going to be people in the comments. Shut the fuck. Don't besmirch his name. I get it, but like, yeah, that gap. I mean, the gap. Him pushing, getting fastest laps. It was like, no. This kid is. He is. I've been hating on him. And I'm here to say that it's looking like I was fucking wrong, and this kid is the real deal. I mean, Monaco feels like it, but Monaco feels like that because, especially in the qualifying, which is what we talked about a second ago, which was your point. But like, it's one of those races where you just have to be perfect. You have to be flawless, and you have to, the pressure of it. It's fucking, you think Formula One, you think Monaco. Like winning his first Monaco Grand Prix, it feels different to me than him winning in Canada, him winning in Japan, him winning in China. It just feels, it's a different thing.
You can't fluke the Monaco pole, Brian. You've got to be locked in and nail it. I like the analogy that you just made. Michael used to talk about this, or people used to talk about Michael, that it's not enough for him to win. He's got to destroy all of his enemies. Like that's the goal. And Kimi Antonelli drove like that today, putting in purples. And I think to the Antonelli pole, which most impressed me, I've often said it about Max, that it's not Max's pace that separate, not just his pace that separates him from the rest. It's his ability to be clutch, Brian. Like when there's a couple minutes left and it's game 7. Who give me the ball, and that's what Antonelli's doing now. He's I don't know, chap. There's something he's almost uncannily clutch, and that's what concerns me in a way that George Russell, sadly for George Russell fans, hasn't proved that yet. It's a problem, chap.
Yeah, well, certainly when George, was teamed up with Lewis, I think he felt that pressure. He's teamed up with his idol. He's trying to compare himself to one of the GOATs, and he cracked a few times. We saw George crack, and this was the first weekend where, because you could chalk up Japan, China, Canada to bad luck, right? Miami, it was like, that's a Kimi track. He was great there last year. It's not, George doesn't like that track, blah, blah, blah. Monaco, also, it seems like George doesn't really like it. I was thinking back, like, when have I ever thought of a George Russell Monaco? I can't think of one. He's never been in the top 3. And like Monaco, another track that he doesn't like. And if you consider yourself one of the top, you don't have you have tracks that you like more, but you don't have tracks where it's like, well, then I suck there. You know what I mean?
That I'm that weak around to where Kimi's going to out-qualify me by 4/10. Flipping Nora, but that was Canada. Both the sprint quali and the race quali, 4/10. Mate, if it's a 10th, it's a chasm. 4/10 is a disgrace. Like, George needs to, I don't know, Miami, excuse me. Mate, George wants to have a word with himself, mate. I'm hoping for the season and for George that when we get to Barca, mate, that George has had his Weetabix and comes correct, because it's going to be a long season otherwise, though.
In theory, I think George wants this middle European like season. He wants the purpose built. I mean, Barcelona might be, it might not play to those strengths, but like, he wants the Spas, he wants the Silverstones, he wants the tracks that he knows that he wants that high, wants the high grip tracks. I mean, I think, going on into the season now, he's got an even deeper hole to crawl out of now. 65 points. That's, oh my gosh, and then I guess I've been thinking this year, and this has been my headspace around it, because we watched last year, Lando wins in Australia. And then from that point on, it seemed like it was Oscar's, right? And Oscar was unflappable. And Oscar was, the Iceman. But the thing that with Oscar wasn't necessarily, so anyway, I was thinking, okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves with this Kimi Antonelli stuff, because we saw last year, everyone was writing Lando off. It's Oscar's championship. He's got ice in his veins. What could go wrong? And then we saw what went wrong. And the thing that I keep coming back to is, what will happen when something like that happens to Kimi? Because at some point in this season, something's going to go wrong. He's going to have a bad, something's going to happen, right? And how does he respond to that?
Brian, you would think so, mate, but this feels a lot like 2007 Lewis. They said about Lewis then when he was fighting Alonso. It never happened, bro. Like, of course, he had mistakes, and there was China, and there was troughs. But Lewis was so blitzkrieg quick that year that Alonso couldn't handle it, and he managed to build up McLaren around him then. And I feel like Antonelli's borderline do. Have you seen the love that Toto looks at that dude with? Like, what?
Yeah.
Brian, what are we doing?
Well, he was on the podium with him today.
with both of his loved ones, Lewis and
That's right.
Antonelli, Sunday dinner settings. It was like, what's going on here? Looked like Thanksgiving reunion or something. They were really. I haven't seen Toto with a smile that big on his face for ages, mate. And I just think you are right though, bro. I think around Europe, Kimi Antonelli didn't go very well last year. Loads of DNFs and outside of the points finishes. If that doesn't happen when we get to Barca and Spa and bloody if we get to Silverstone and Geordie's getting out qualified, then Kimi Antonelli, then Kenny Smith settings. Let's go home, ladies and gentlemen.
If we get to Silverstone and Kimmy's in second, George is fucked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing that's and this is where it'll be interesting because will Kimi, because if he seems like the mentality is no, like I kill you at every opportunity, right? Like I'm going for broke every time. I mean, even in the sprint race in Canada, right? It's 1 point he's going for, and he's about to crash. He almost crashes into George 3 times over 1 point. It doesn't matter to him, it seems, what's on the line. Because what's on the line is I want to win right now. He's that present. It seems like.
And who does that remind you of, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, Max Verstappen reminds me of Ayrton Senna. You know, it reminds me. These are the people. And it's interesting. You talked about Toto's, looks of admiration towards Kimi. He's only rivaled by one Lewis Hamilton, who also looks like Kimi, like his adopted son. He looks at Kimi in the way that George Russell always wished that Lewis looked at him. But maybe at the end of the day, game recognized game.
Oh. And
he looks at Kimi Antonelli and says, no. This is me. This is a young me, not George Russell. That's not me. This Kimi Antonelli kid, that's me.
Oh, the George hatred is too much, right? I hear you though, bro. I hear you.
Well,
I feel sorry for George, Brian. I know we're dying around here, but I do feel sorry for George. I feel like he's what's he going to do, Brian? He can't race Kimi Antonelli now with the vigour that he needs to, because if he steps out of line and Toto gets a whiff of 2016 Nico and Lewis, then your P45, George. I'll just get Max Verstappen in next year. So how does he manage this, Brian? What does George do? Because it wouldn't be the first time that they've sacked off a driver, Damon Hill, 1996, when he was about to win a bloody championship. I don't know what George. Mate, I feel bad for him. He didn't need this chap. He needed to be winning at this point in the season, the driver's standings. But
yeah, I don't know what he does. But I guess so we'll get to the rest of the race in a second. But you brought up the idea that you think Max is going to Mercedes.
Yeah,
but if you're Toto Wolff, you've got this young superstar. You've got this kid who has that raw pace, could be one of the greats, but you would have to think is still incubating a bit. Like he's not at full strength, right? There's room for him to grow. Do you really want to bring in the buzzsaw that is Max Verstappen into that team next year and potentially fuck up this kid's confidence?
Me, no. Toto Wolff, 1000%. He will. Listen to this, bro. I've said it for a long time that Toto, given what happened in 2015, that he had the opportunity, in inverted commas, to sign Max then, but there was no room at the Mercedes Inn. He had Nico and he had Lewis. He didn't know that Nico was going to win and run off into the distance in 16. Had he known that, don't think for a second that he wouldn't have drop-kicked Nico in his chest and signed Max. And I don't think Toto's the type to make that mistake twice. Mate, I think he's keen to amend for the ills of 2015-16. And I reckon if George is like 60-something points behind Antonelli as of the summer break, with that performance clause in his contract, that if he doesn't beat Antonelli, that they can null and void his contract.
Right.
It would be chaos, mate. They won't get along well, and it would be Senna and Prost all over again.
Right.
Verstappen and Antonelli can't exist in the same. That Mercedes town is not big enough for the both of them. But Toto will do it, mate. He'll press that button. Brian, would you not do it? Would you try and save Kimi Antonelli? Would you want to bring him through as a young hot prospect and sacrifice signing Max Verstappen? No, Brian. Say it ain't so, Joe.
All right, well let's play out this hypothetical. Let's say next year this happens. He moves to Mercedes. Who knows? Maybe George goes to Red Bull, but whatever. Who cares? What do you think's happening in 2027? Does he put Kimi through a blender, or can this kid really honestly put up a fight to this generation's GOAT?
I think not next year. Next year's TC. Max is a joke. Honestly, I've seen Max do some bloody. He's an exponent of voodoo in an F1 car. He does some things that are just like, there's no way that even putting it on pole, mate. I don't know if you're a betting man, Brian, but he was like 20 something to 1, like plus 2,000 in America. Like he was nowhere, and then he comes within a couple hundreds of dropping it. So I think Max is still capable of a different brand of witchcraft that I don't think any of the other 21 are. But at some point, Brian, given where Kimi Antonelli is now, 19, mate, he just finished high school, for Pete's sake. He's like, you saw him taking pictures of his like schoolmates like last year, signing shirts and all this shit. Like, I'm like, hang on, now at 19 you're able to beat, okay, in quicker machinery, but you're still able to beat Max Verstappen to pole. Are you hearing these words that are coming out my mouth? I just didn't think I'd be saying this in 2026. So not next year, mate. But who's to say at some point, chap?
If it doesn't fuck with his confidence, I guess that's the fear. That, I mean, we've watched Max Verstappen make mincemeat of these teammates, and you watch them go crazy. You watch Max Verstappen's teammates like descend into madness, into themselves, because how the fuck is he 0.5? How is he half a second quicker than me over one lap? Like, they don't understand it.
Yeah, it's you shouldn't compare. Comparison is the thief of joy, whatever. Comparison against Max Verstappen will send you crazy, chap.
Well, he's 46 milliseconds behind Kimi Antonelli in a Red Bull, so I don't know what he would be able to do in that Mercedes. But okay, we can talk about that until we're blue in the face. Let's talk about more parts of this race. Let's talk about Charles Leclerc. Let's talk about Lewis Hamilton. Off of the back of Charles Leclerc signing this contract extension, he's going to be at Ferrari until he's 100 years old, until he's until he can't walk anymore.
What is he doing?
What was your reaction when you saw that signing? What was your reaction when you saw that extension?
Why?
Yeah.
Why Charles Leclerc? Not why Ferrari, Brian, but why Ferrari now? Given the circumstance and the speculation over the 60-40 rules next year and ADUO, when we don't know what's going on and all this other stuff. Plus, it's about to be driver silly season proper this summer, depending on what Max does and Oscar and all this other stuff. Surely, I understand Charles wants to win with Ferrari almost more than he wants to win, which is another conversation in and of itself. But surely, mate, if you sometimes that, like Max did last year, he could have signed for Mercedes potentially. But sometimes, Brian, the best move is no move. Sit on your hands and purvey the circumstance. Do the little finger thing from Game of Thrones. Just see what's going on. Sometimes the best move is no move, Charles. So I disagree, not with his decision, but the timing of it. And I feel bad for him, Cha. I feel really bad for it. He doesn't deserve how piss poor that team is. Not as far as they're building a car, but like their ability to be just a race team and make good strategy. It's always pit. No, stay out. Plan A, plan B, plan C. We are checking. They become a walking, talking meme, right? And I don't think Charles Leclerc is rapid and his talents don't deserve that. So my reaction to your point, mate, was like, why, Charles?
Yeah, he had all the time. Like, you had till 2029 anyway. Why are you doing this? 3 years before you need to.
Stockholm syndrome, mate. It's the analogy again.
Who's his agent?
Oh,
who's
mate.
Who's his Carlos Dos? Where's Carlos Sainz's cousin when you need him? Who is there? Because I think I guarantee you this is an aspect of what happened. I doubt Charles came to them and said, let's re-up. They came to Charles and said, we want to keep you. What do we need to do to keep you? Blah, blah. We want to win here. We want you to win here with us. And they offered him, I don't know, because, he was already there till 2029. What is this, 2034?
Yeah,
2035? How much? So anyway, I guarantee they came up to him and said, we want to keep you. And maybe because he's polite, maybe because he's a nice guy, maybe because he is obviously drank the Maranello Kool-Aid and he thinks, I need, you're right. I do want to win here. I do believe in the project. I do believe in the project that we have here, et cetera, et cetera. But it feels like he just feels awkward saying no. He's a people pleaser. He doesn't want to say anything wrong. He doesn't want to
Oh, boy.
a crazy signing. But okay, here's giving him whatever benefit of the doubt. I'm a Knicks fan, right?
Let's go.
Okay.
Soon.
So it's been good. It's been a good. And what they've always said about the Knicks is you win one with the Knicks and you're a legend.
Hey, yeah. Fair.
That winning one with the Knicks is better than winning 4 with Oklahoma City. Who gives a shit? It's better than winning 4 with the Atlanta Hawks, even with the San Antonio Spurs. The only one that's comparable is probably the Lakers, maybe the Bulls. But winning one in New York, given the drought and given it's in New York, right? It's one of the teams. If you win one there, that's worth 5 elsewhere. And that's what they've always said about Ferrari, right? That's what they've always said. You win one at Ferrari, you're a legend. Winning one at Ferrari to many people in this game is more valuable than winning 3 at Mercedes, than winning 3 at McLaren, than winning 3 at Williams, whatever, what have you. So I can only imagine that's the mentality. But then I guess, I don't know, like you look at that project and you say, will this ever happen? When you have the likes of Mercedes doing what they're doing, when you have the likes of McLaren coming online with the team that they've assembled over there, Red Bull, another story, we'll see what they can muster up. But, you have these two foes in Mercedes and McLaren that look, unstoppable in certain ways, given the year.
Stockholm Syndrome has taken Charles Leclerc. I just feel like he's ever the romantic. I just feel like he's bought into this fallacy of what Scuderia Ferrari wants. It's not 2002 between 2000 and 2004. The days of Jean Todt and Ross Brawn and Rory Byrne, all those god tier F1 minds aren't at Ferrari. So I'd love to understand why he's. I'd love for him to pitch to me the case for signing again. I think it is something like what you said, mate, that one championship at Ferrari is probably worth 5 elsewhere. But what are the chances? You've got an expected value calc this, Brian. What are the chances that you even win one with Ferrari, right? Charles? You're not, I tell you what scares me about Charles, Brian. If he were a Michael Schumacher type personality, then maybe he could drag them back to the mountaintop, kicking and screaming. Maybe he'd go out and get an Adrian Newey and move and shake and do like Jordan did and getting Coach and all these. But he's not that. He's a wet blanket fella. He's too passive and he's just like. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Even I'll give you a good example, Brian. I'm having conversation. I'm watching today's race.
Yeah.
If I'm in Charles Leclerc, listen, I'm not a brilliant peddler. I've spent enough time in karts to have a little bit about me. If I'm Charles Leclerc and I'm tracking third and I've got Lewis in front of me and I've got Antonelli in front of him and those two pit, Lewis Hamilton goes in to get a 5-second penalty. Why, Brian, am I not staying out? It is Monaco. I've got 5-lap-old soft compound tyres and there's something like 15 laps to go till we get ourselves a checkered flag. I don't understand why this dude isn't assertive enough to sometimes control his own destiny. Because I bet my bottom dollar this, Brian, if that were Michael in the car, or Max, or Lewis, or Alan, they would, or Carlos Sainz even. Do you think they're coming in to get double stacked behind Lewis?
Right. Who's serving a penalty? Who's serving a 5? Who has to serve a 5-second penalty? So he's slowing down in order to.
I'm going to take this is the hill that I'm prepared to die on with 15 laps and 5-lap-old soft compound tyres. I will get this and leave it to me. This is a driving challenge now. And Charles is plenty good enough, Brian, to hold off Antonelli at Monaco, where you can't overtake unless there's a... Mate, I feel sad for the chap. He could have won today, mate. Definitely. Could have won.
Yeah. And... it's interesting because obviously, there was that moment with the double stack. And then he has, you know, he gets thrown off track, similar to Lance Stroll. I thought this was hilarious about this race, that Lance Stroll crashes, right? In that final turn before, you know, up into the checker flag. He crashes there. And they just think, oh, it's marbles. Lance Stroll's an idiot. Like, he sucks. That's obviously Lance Stroll crashed because he sucked. Let's do a safety car. Not even look at what happened, because we know what happened. What happened was Lance Stroll sucked. Then at the restart, Charles Leclerc crashes, and they go, wait. Charles Leclerc doesn't suck. Yeah. What's going on in this area of the track? And then these are the smartest minds in the world. You can see it. You can see a crater showing up, like descending into Hades from Monaco, bringing, you know, you can't take it with you, right? Well, guess what? Lucifer was about to try to see. He said, you know, this is Monaco. Give me the cash. And then they finally look and say, oh, there's something wrong with the track here. But I thought that was hilarious, that, you know, these brilliant minds couldn't have seen that maybe Lance Stroll crashed because of something that's fucked up with the track. But regardless of that, you know, after the race, they asked Charles, was it because of the crater that was showing up? And he just denied, and he said no. He said no. And he emphatically, basically, and he said this on the radio too, he said, I'm not taking the blame for this. I have the quote here. They said it was nothing to do with the damage to the asphalt. It doesn't help to have asphalt that is coming off, but the data speaks for itself. I don't know how much I can get into the detail. It's extremely frustrating. I think I've always been very honest, and no matter how many mistakes I do, I would hate to look at myself in the mirror and see myself finding excuses when I do a mistake. So that's why I'm always bluntly honest whenever I'm in front of cameras, but I'm not going to take any of it today. The amount is not even braking. I touched the brakes, and there's something with those brakes that the front brakes just broke off. It broke a lot more than I thought, and the rear brakes, blah, blah, blah. He said, I don't think it's been they asked if it's been the difference between the cars, because clearly Lewis also has a different brake setup. He says, I don't have any words. Today, I look like an idiot. And when you look like an idiot for a mistake of yours, it's fine. But when it's borderline dangerous, you know, he basically says, I look like an idiot and it's your fault. It's the team's fault. And he basically said, I'm going to go in Lewis's direction for the next race onwards. It will solve some of the issues that I deal with. But then Lewis has other issues that he's dealing with over there, because, you know, you open one door and you're in a different hellish room. So who knows what Lewis is having to deal with that Charles isn't, because of whatever this brake balance setup is. But off of the heels of this big signing, this brake contract extension, that he's coming out and saying, I'm not taking any blame for this. This is you guys. You fucked me here. I looked like an idiot and it's not my fault. It's your fault. It's just, I mean, the worst way that you could, they went into this weekend being like, it's perfect. It's Monaco. We're signing Charles. Charles is with us forever. This is going to be, what a great weekend. And this is how it ends up.
Brian, man, they're gonna come for me on my sharp criticism. I've often said, mate, that this dude reminds me of modern day. I call him modern day Jean Lazy, because was Jean Lazy back in the day? Charles is much better than Charles. I say it very disparagingly, but they look the same, and they're both blitzkrieg quick, but they both make bloody mistakes. They need everything needs to be perfect around them in order to get the best out of them. And Charles probably right. I don't blame him for the final mistake, but he's been making mistakes all bloody weekend, fella. You should have been on pole, Charles. This is Monaco. This is your home. You're a Monegasque. You're brilliant around here. Nobody on the current grid has poled it as many times as him. I want to say 3 and 1 race victories. He's gangbuster around here. Nobody shouldn't beat him to a pole around Monaco, especially Ferrari have a car, which they did. Brian around here rides the curbs nicely, the heave and all this nonsense, and bloody low minimum speed, and they've got the best chassis, takes out the power deficit to measure. They should have been nailed around here. So forget the final mistake. What about the one in qualifying, Sean? What about that one? And I know you made a mistake and you tried to get it back, and it was the last gasp attempt, and then but he's too good. He's too
Well, he
good
didn't
a
get a
driver.
banker lap either. He fucked up his banker lap, so that's why he was in the position in the first place. So he's pushing like crazy on tires that are wearing down because he didn't get a good enough first lap in order to put himself in a position to run qualifying normally, to run Q3 in the normal way. So that he put himself there, and his 41-year-old teammate, who everyone is dying to write off. When Charles is a married man, and then Lewis Hamilton is there with his girlfriend, Kim Kardashian. Man with a girlfriend, Charles Leclerc with a wife. There are levels to this shit. Out-qualifies him, and then runs a fantastic race. I mean, like Lewis is last year was what it was. Getting used to it. You guys run shit a lot differently than I'm used to. It's not really as efficient. I don't like any of you. I've got to figure out these shitty brakes that you have over here. I have to figure out how do you work this power unit, X, Y, and Z. And now he's come out this year, and he's either been on Charles's tail, or now he's starting to come into it. And Charles, it's interesting. Charles has talked about this a bit. They asked him like what they've learned from each other. What have you learned from Lewis? What has Lewis learned from you? And he said basically, I don't think Lewis has learned anything from me, but what I've learned from him is how he conducts himself. How does he approach the work ethic? And he says it's opened his mind. And I think it goes into exactly what you were saying before. You need a Schumacher or a Max or a Lewis to set the tone. This is how we're going to conduct ourselves. This is how it's top down. And you would hope that it comes from a team principle. I think, I think Lewis maybe learned some of that from Toto, from the Ron Dennises of the world. He learned, this is how you conduct yourself as a champion. But Charles has never had someone to learn that from. He got there with a Sebastian Vettel who was already kind of a little bit checked out. He kicked his ass. I'm just smart. I'm fast. He is the pillow princess that you just mentioned. And you have to be, if you want to be a great, and if you want to, rise above your station, then you have to do it through your will. And that's what Lewis, I think, brings to Ferrari. Whether Ferrari will listen to him is a whole other conversation. But I think that Charles is seeing that in Lewis, and now Lewis is reaping the rewards of that work ethic, despite the fact that he's dating Kim Kardashian. Everyone wants his whole career. He does this. He goes to the Met Gala. He's dating Kim Kardashian. He's dating this celebrity. He hangs out with Sean. Who gives a fuck? Look what he's doing.
And some might say, as far as Lewis, that he goes purple because of all of those extracurricular activities, not despite. The 2018 Singapore lap was one of the greatest all of F1 aficionados, and he rocked up to Singapore late because he was busy signing bloody sponsorship deals with fashion companies all over that part of the world. I think though, Brian, you hit a salient point. Lewis has got more about him than I don't think he's as fast at 41 years old as Charles. And I think Charles will ultimately, there will be a mean reversion when we get to Barca and Silverstone and whatever else is to come. But I think Lewis, as far as the off-track lap time that there is to be gained and working with engineers and stuff, I just think he's got more about him than Charles. I think Charles is a bit of and again, he's done bits this year. So he's got the software engineers telling him about how to maximize for the battery and to gain that algorithmic racing that he's done. He's done bits and he's worthy of some praise for that. But I just think Lewis has still got more about him. He's going to get to Canada like he did, and nobody's won more Canadian Grand Prix than Lewis. And he's going to look at Ferrari, and they set up the car, and Lewis just looks at it, it's like, what are you doing? Nonsense. This is just and even did you hear it? I don't know if you heard him in the cool down room, and he said to Antonelli, he goes, mate, I looked at my car and I looked at yours, and my car just looks like something from the dark ages. Your car's got all these finagly bits, and they bloody took off the active aero wing at the rear because they knew that there was weight to be gained, and therefore like, where was that with Ferrari? They didn't even bother. Listen, mate, I don't know. I feel a little bit bad for Charles, but Lewis, mate, has kicked a bit. I think the rules have helped him. Didn't like the ground effect. Get your elbows out, Charles. You're too good to just sit there and just be stay out, mate. Didn't he stay up? I can't even get over that chap.
I loved Lewis in the cool down room with Kimi and
mate
Isaac.
Yeah,
I mean,
those
talk about, I mean, it was just like, you know, the freshman hanging out with like the guy who just graduated from college. You know, it's like you're a freshman in high school and he like broke all the records in your high school, then went to college, broke all the records there. And now he's like in the pros and they're just like, and he's like, hello, fellow, you know?
Yeah.
It was just, it was beautiful. I mean, and Isaac, who, you know, grew up being, you know, idolizing Lewis, obviously, you know, Kimi a bit as well, but
it's a good moment.
Yeah, that was a beautiful. That was beautiful. Before we get into our awards, I want to discuss the George Russell not, you know, the Mercedes. Let's not take the penalty now. I mean, what the fuck happened there? Because it's just like Dems the rules, right? And that's the rule. If you come in for a pit stop, you have to serve your penalty then. And if you don't, you what happened. You get the drive-through. So like, well, okay. So there was a few things. He came into the pits, even though they told him to stay out. So they weren't prepared for him to come in, but there were tires there, so something must have happened. You know, that he came in, there were tires ready for him. But if anything, guess what? You have 5 seconds of him not moving to go get the tires.
Yeah. They didn't. Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. They reminded me a lot of Lewis back in the day with Mercedes, when their best strategy used to be Lewis and Inshallah. Just put Lewis in the car and he'll do the rest. We'll make all the strategic gaffes and Lewis will be the difference. And it was a lot for them, mate. They didn't know what was going on. They were all at sea. It looked like they didn't even know the rules. It looked like they almost wanted to serve the bloody penalty after they put the tyres on. It's like, what are we?
Right, they put the tyres on, they dropped them down, and then George thought, should I just serve it now? No, that's not how it works.
No.
That's not how it works.
Unbelievable, mate. Bless George. Can you imagine what George must be thinking? The sabotage and conspiratorial theories that must be coming into his head right now, Brian, is chaos. Absolute chaos. Kimi Antonelli. And even the bloody, I mean, where did he end up? 14th? Like second last of the runners?
Yeah, second to last, because with the retirements, yeah.
Gosh. Mate, it looked like he was doing a decent damage limitation jobby there for a second. He was running in fourth or whatever, and then all of a sudden another safety guy. Mate, I feel bad for the chat. He's DEFCON 1 for George Russell. He's got to do something now. Can't wait till like. Well,
and he got lucky. He got lucky with not getting the penalty at the beginning of the race, because it looked like he was offline. I mean, you know, I didn't fully. It kind of came and went, but everyone in the commentary were like, "Oh yeah, that's not where he's supposed to be." He skates by with that. Obviously, F1 Twitter is like, this British bias. This is fucking bullshit. You know, it's like, oh, interesting. What country are you from? Oh yeah, actually, that's not a penalty. You're fine.
Mate,
but you know, then he made up for it with however many penalties, and then the drive-through, and then, you know, obviously, then the chaos with the. I mean, I have a list of all the. I'm going to read out every penalty that was called today. Okay, lap 9, drive-through penalty for Perez for false start line infringement, 5 seconds. Lap 34, 5-second penalty for Lewis for speeding in the pit lane. Lap 38, 5-second penalty for George for speeding in the pit lane. Lap 43, 5 seconds for Franco speeding in the pit lane. Lap 53, 5 seconds for Pierre speeding in the pit lane. Lap 54, 5 seconds for Lance Stroll exceeding track limits. Lap 53, Oscar 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. Lap 57, George Russell noted for potential pit lane exit crossing. He didn't get dinged for that. He just touched the line. He didn't cross the line. Lap 67, drive-through penalty for George for failing to serve a time penalty. 5-second penalty in lap 67 for Pierre Gasly for speeding in the pit lane. Lap 68, Hadjar under investigation. We were recording this right after the race, so who knows if Hadjar is actually going to be on this podium or whether he'll get dinged. Lap 68, Hamilton under investigation for the safety car infringement. No further action there. Lap 73, Hadjar noted for a red flag infringement. Now that's the one being investigated after the race. Lap 76, Perez noted for a start infringement, and then a 10-second penalty for Hülkenberg for causing a collision at the restart. Post-race, Perez investigated for a practice start infringement. I mean, this was just
chaos, sir. What are we doing here?
What the? And then there's a crater, a fucking sinkhole. These are the richest people in the world. This sport is like, they're trying to make this sport a global phenomenon. They're trying to make it S tier. They're trying to make it like #1. And this is the product you give us, is like penalties that you can't even follow, a timing sensor, a sensor in the pit lane, so everyone's exceeding these limits. Craters forming in the middle of Monaco. It's absolute.
Excuse me, sir. Have you met my friend Mohammed Ben Sulayem, head of the FIA, Mr. Incompetent?
Doing a good job there. You're doing a great job. And you know, because he had some stiff competition for that role this year. He had some stiff competition for that position, and the best person got the job. And that's why you want a free market economy. That's why you want, the link to as many people applying for the position as possible, so that you can get the best product on track.
Democracy, meritocracy, that's all that the sustainability, transparency, that's all that the FIA stands for, Brian. There's nothing to say. It's not like Mohammed bin Sulayem is flying on the PJ all around the world and expensing it to the FIA. Already, this is all conspiracy. This didn't happen, Brian. Fugazi. The FIA did a brilliant job, sir. Whatever.
Yeah. Craziness. And then it looked like, I was like, oh my God, Gasly's going to get a podium. And then no, he's got 10 seconds. He finished in P7.
Bless him. That would have been a good story. Pierre
that would have been fun.
For a cheeky underrated driver of the season award, potentially. He's been good, hasn't he?
Well, he's had a couple races where Colapinto was showing up, and I was thinking, is Gasly, this was a good race for him, because, that Colapinto, he comes with the money, he comes with the fan base. And if he starts beating Gasly, that might be trouble for him. But today was a nice stamp for him there. Okay, let's get into our awards for the race. We got Daddy of the Monaco Grand Prix. Who's your daddy, Cameron?
How can I not give it to Kimi Antonelli, Joe? How could I? Ironically, since he's like 10 years old,
yeah,
it feels like a changing of the guard. I just didn't see it, mate. If you'd asked me before the race weekend, Mats is going to drop it on provisional pole with seconds to go, and then Kimi Antonelli's going to snatch it from me, I would have said to you, Brian, that you were a crazy man and that you want to get your brain checked. And so just because of that, Daddy of the weekend, Kimi Antonelli, bravo, sir.
I agree. I'm with you. Hottest moment of the Monaco Grand Prix.
Hottest. You go first on this.
Sexy. What was a sexy moment?
Charles Leclerc is a very good-looking chap, Pause.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I liked the posture of Charles Leclerc with his shoulders back, walking back to the pit lane to have a word, as if he didn't look like shrinking Violet Charles. He looked like Arnold in Predator Charles, and that's the chap that I want to say. And I appreciated when he got back to the garage that he saw the camera in his peripheral, but he didn't care, Brian. There was things that he had to get out. I'm not taking this. You're not blaming me. You lot are going to absorb this because the car is SH1T. I think that's probably the sexiest moment.
Yeah, him yelling at his engineers after the race. I was loving it. He was like taking off his race kit.
Yeah, gangster. It's very,
because you want to see, because that's the thing with Charles. He's sweet. He's like a puppy dog, right?
No.
Like we have a book coming out, linked in the description, pre-order right now. We have a book coming out. We've broken the drivers. We do driver profiles into a few categories. We've got the Terminators, we've got the nerds, we've got the playboys, and then we have the precious baby angels. And Charles is squarely in the precious baby angel category.
Face.
He's a baby. He's a little sweetie. He's a little puppy dog. But at the end of the day, the guys who stand atop the mountain have bite, and they don't just have bark. And Charles Leclerc, I think he's got the pace, he's got the quickness, he's got the raw talent. But does he have the fire in him? Does he have what it takes? And this is what we've been discussing on, this whole episode. That was at least a little moment where I said, more of that. Yes, Charles, more of that. It's not, you don't need everyone in the garage to like you, okay? It's not about being liked. Guess what? They'll love you if you push them and you win a championship, okay? You can be liked by being nice. You can be loved by pushing people to their fullest potential. And that's what Charles Leclerc seems to be unable to do so far in his career. That's something that Max Verstappen is able to do with the people that he works with. That's something that Lewis was able to do, is able to do. Okay, we'll see if he can do it with Ferrari. Schumacher, Senna, the list goes on. So I agree with you on that as well. Radio of the day.
Radio of the day.
There were a lot of them.
There were a few, weren't there? He's got to go to one shot. Charles effing and blinding over there. I appreciated that. Yeah. It's very similar. Remember when they called him in that time again at Monaco? I want to say 2023, and that Carlos Sainz. It's exactly the bloody same thing, Brian. For Pete's sake, it is history repeating. I want to say it's 23 when they called him in. He boxed. It was like a wet rain, changeable conditions race. He went into the bloody pits, and then Carlos Sainz is already sat there. It's exactly the same bloody thing, and he wants to sign for them again. But I think when he realised that again, I didn't hate hearing Charles Leclerc effing and blinding over the red. He's got to give them a piece of his mind more often, man.
He does. I liked all of Hadjar. I mean, Hadjar's just thrilling. Hadjar's amazing on the radio. I mean, he's given every I mean, when something's going wrong, he's just screaming. He's like,
but is that good, Brian, for him? Do you think that's...
I don't know if it's good, but it's entertaining. I don't know if it's good.
Yeah.
It seems like he's not in control of it. It echoes, aspects of where Yuki, used to get, dinged for being explosive on the radio, not saying everything that comes into his mind. We've seen it with... You want it to happen when it's appropriate, but sometimes he's doing it a lot. He does it a lot.
Mate, I don't hate it for Isaac Hadjar. I think I listened to him talking in an interview, and he said that he's had a sports psychologist from F2. I think I think there's speed in that for him. It sounds very counterintuitive that I'm saying, but I don't think he's necessarily out of control. I expected him to yeet it into the barrier to follow Charles and Lance because of the way he sounded, but he doesn't. I think that actually helps him. I think he gets G'd up by that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he got the podium today, given when he was, when Russell was on his tail,
and he didn't
seemed like he was just. I was envisioning, he's not even going to finish this race, let alone, the engine, first gear is fucked up. His tires looks, Russell can see it disintegrating from, however many meters back. I thought it was an impressive, really impressive whole weekend from him. He starts out in the practice session, he shunts it, and you would think that he'd be off. But, clearly that Mercedes had some pace today. It only makes me think more what Max could have done had that start not been what it was.
And what Isaac would potentially do. Go on then, mate, as a side. Isaac in a W17 Mercedes and Kimi Antonelli. Who you got, mate? I'm keen here. Isaac or Antonelli, same car over a season? Ugh.
I mean, given what I'm seeing this year, you'd say Kimi, but last year, my whole thing was, I think Isaac's the best rookie. I'm thinking he's, last year it looked like he was the kid, and now, who knows? I don't know. It's encouraging of what this next generation. We've got some young guns here. Between Behrman, Bortoletto, Lindblad. He had a great race today. He got lucky with the red flag. He was able to change his tires, but Lawson even. I like what's coming up the pipeline and what's developing here. Okay, Karen of the Monaco Grand Prix. I mean, there's only one answer, right?
Mate, I don't want to. I mean, as if when it rains, it pours for George. I don't want to be down on the chap. I feel like I'm punching down, bullying the fella, but I mean. He's quick. He's not trigger shy on a cheeky snitch radio message. Is a young George, bless him.
Well, Bernie Collins said that during the red flag, she saw him running to the steward's office. She saw George Russell during that time where everyone is just kind of, they're drinking the water, they got the umbrella, they're just getting their headset, mindset right. George Russell is running to the steward's office. Maybe who knows who was with him? I can't imagine someone from a high up person was running with him. I'd imagine it's whoever his physio is running with the umbrella behind him, chasing him, trying to plead his case. So there's that. There's him literally going to plead his case. But then the drive-through penalty's coming. You've got like 7 laps to go, and he's out there bitching about what Isaac Hadjar's doing, trying to tattle on Isaac. It doesn't matter for him. Your race is screwed up. Like why are you trying to bring Isaac Hadjar down with you? That's what you're trying to do. It's like, what difference does it make if he's not doing something in front of it? It doesn't. You're coming into the pits for a drive-through penalty. It doesn't matter.
But go on then, Brian. I'm going to put on my George Russell cap for a second. If you're a high-level sports athlete, come F1 driver, wouldn't you do the same? Wouldn't you be, mate? I think I would be in the stewards. I remember when Lewis in, I want to say Hungary 2007. Again, this is Fernando Alonso, tried some skullduggerous stuff and made sure that he didn't get his final lap in. Lewis and Anthony, his dad, were straight in the steward's office trying to get Alonso a penalty. So isn't this just what champions do? Isn't this what I think it's because everybody hates George, Brian?
Well, that's true.
That's the problem. And everybody just comes down on George at any given opportunity. But this is nothing different to anything that Lewis or Alonso or Max or Michael would have done. It's just because it's Osama bin George. And
I don't have a problem with him going to the steward's office. He's trying to save his race. He's trying to save his championship, right? The thing that felt crazy to me was like, the race is like your race is done, like this just felt like bad juju, this just felt like, him trying to get like a penalty on Hadjar just felt like this doesn't even affect you. You know what I mean? Like if it's the person behind, like in last place with a false start penalty, are you going to be looking in your mirror saying they did their false start? Or is it when it's the person directly in front of you? Like when Norris, when he called out George, because George was directly in front of him. But it just felt like it didn't even matter to George's race that Isaac was doing anything. And here he is.
I sympathize, Brian. One of those where you're playing and you're just you've done something negative and you just want to avert the umpire's gaze and just be like, well, ref. Yeah. But ref. Forget what I did. Ignore that. This is infinitely worse. Punish him and forget about me. I don't hate George's skullduggery. I just think because he's Osama bin Russell, everybody's just like,
it's interesting because it's like everyone hates George, right? And I've been on the George train. I've kind of felt, and I still, it's looking like a sadder train to be on by the day. But I'm not giving up. I don't think that he's out of this thing necessarily yet. I watched enough. I got off the Lando train last year, and I was a Lando guy, and I've learned from that enough to know that don't get off too soon. There's a lot of season left. Anything can happen. One bad weekend for Antonelli when he has a win, and all of a sudden he's cut that lead by a third. That happens a couple more times. You never know what's going to happen. And it's interesting because he's just people don't like him. They just don't like his vibe. They don't like his energy. They don't like the way that he carries himself. But arguably, he's a more relatable person than Kimi.
Oh, I don't know about that.
And this is what people
Brian.
are talking about, I can't help but compare this to what's happening in the NBA right now. Victor Wembanyama is the future of the NBA. He's we've never seen anything like this guy. He is, was created in a lab. They call him a basketball alien. And he's now in the finals right away. He's gotten there ahead of schedule.
Chaos.
Whereas the Knicks have an underdog element to them. Jalen Brunson is undersized. He's been written off his whole career. He was a second round pick. Everyone thought it was a travesty when he came to the Knicks, and now he's an underdog who is like taking on the giant and this kid who was anointed from the time that he was like in middle school. Everyone was talking about Wembanyama. And George, it's interesting because it's not a one-to-one because he wasn't overlooked necessarily, but he has had to struggle. They parked him at Williams for years even though he was quick enough to be in Mercedes, we saw when Lewis had COVID, he came into that car, he would have won that race. And then what happened there happened there. He was ready to win in quality race cars, but they parked him at Williams for another 2 years. Then they finally get him to Mercedes right as the Mercedes era of dominance ends. So he's a Mercedes man. This has been the dream. He gets there right as it's over, and Lewis is still there, and it's still Lewis's team. And fuck you, George. Even though he beats Lewis, I think 2 out of those 3 years. I have to fact check that, but I think he beats him at least once. I think he beat him twice.
2-1.
And then it's finally he's in the car now, and this kid who, you know, I watched the documentary and I know that he's a sweetheart and he carries himself really well, and he's cute and he's Italian and he's like kind of what you want, what especially in this day and age, what you want the driver to be. He has a little bit of that precious baby angel in him, but he's also a killer, but he's also, you know, he's got all these components. He's popular in a way that George could never be popular. But like, George has had to struggle for it. Kimi's never had to struggle for it. Last year was his struggle time, I guess, when he was, you know, but like, why aren't more people aligning themselves a little bit with George? Like a kid who's like done everything right, did everything by the book, and the world still tells him, fuck you. Plenty of people feel like that's their life. Right?
This is the likability conversation, Brian. Why do people, I don't know, why do people like Max Verstappen? Like you're asking me to. I don't think you can bottle this. Like, it's hard to define, right? As far as Kimi, I think there is something. You've hit all the right notes. He looks like Valentino and Senna. He wears the bloody blue cap that we've talked about already. He's blitzkrieg quick, and he's like 19 years old. Like he's got the look and a smile and the wink of a champion. He just looks like a champion out the box, and he curries favour with the bloody. Whereas Mr. George goes to buy his coffee, and the bloody the woman behind the till asks him what type of milk, and he says, "Oh, any milk is fine." Who says this, Brian? Like, where do they get him from? It just makes no sense. Mr. Any Milk. What are you trying to? It's a clown. So I don't think he's as relatable as you give him credit for. There is something that doesn't. There is an effortless likability about Kimi Antonelli. He's out here and he's just being himself. George Russell, I don't even think he knew. He's true. His hair looks mad, and he was like, I don't know who. And he says things like, "Oh, well, if I'd arrived at Mercedes 2 years earlier, then I would have been a 2-time champ." Like, who are you? What are you talking? Like, you win no likability points with these words that are coming out your mouth. So whilst I think he's a brilliant driver, I think 99%, Brian, you know more about the F1 zeitgeist than me. 99% of F1 fans will ignore, even if George goes and wins this championship now by 100 points, people don't give a fudge, mate, Because they see him and he's, to use your phraseology, a vanker. He's a tool, and I don't like him, and I don't even care if he's a brilliant driver at this juncture, because he's Mr. Any Milk. What, any milk?
Right.
What are you talking about?
He's in the wrong era. You know, it's like he came about in the wrong era. Like he was not built to be as exposed as these drivers are now. You know, like now we know everything about their personal lives. You know that when they order coffee, he says any milk. In the 70s, you didn't know what Nigel Mansell's you didn't know what Nigel Mansell's milk order was. You didn't know what Graham Hill's milk order was. I bet Graham Hill. I mean, you look at that guy. Does he look like he's fun? Does he look fun?
Mate,
no, he looks like
beaver.
This guy. He looks stiff and weird and you know. And it's interesting because Lando. You know, it's interesting because Lando last year had some of this, right? Lando, like, as much as there's Lando Hive loves him, people fucking hate Lando. They don't like the way that he carries it. They don't like the kind of cocky attitude that he has. They don't like the kind of posh, I expect, like he had an entitlement to him that people didn't like, which George also has, but George is less socially adept to like smooth out the edges.
Correct.
But George is kind of like everything that people don't like about Lando, George just has in spades, and he doesn't even have the like relatable elements to the personality.
Bang, and that's why people can't forgive him for being a
Right.
douchebag and being a snitch at every single juncture and asking Hajjar for a penalty. Like do you know what I mean? People will have this cognitive dissonance where they won't see the George upside and that he inhabits very rare F2 and F3 territory. Then nobody cares for that. Everybody only cares. And even for Lando, it was a really good compare, to be fair. There is something loser Lando. Like, I love him. Like, I think he's a really good when he's winning and he gets a bit cocky, it's a different matter, right? But now that he's losing, I don't even know. I don't know why I hated him last year. Just seems like a really nice guy. He talks about mental health and his own fallibility and soft run away. He's like a good lad, Lando. But George will never have that. He'll never be as loved as a person as Lando. There's just something that grinds people.
Brutal.
You know what it reminds me of, Brian? I know you're a wrestling fan in kayfabe. Do you remember Roman Reigns went on that bloody tear where he had no mic skills and he was just getting booed and he couldn't land. Fans just thought he was entitled, that he was being given a position that he didn't deserve. But parlay that sentiment, and that's what George is. He's in a nepo baby face. Doesn't land.
It's brutal. It's brutal. I just feel bad for the kid. I just feel bad for him.
I feel bad.
I do feel bad for as like, so, you know, I just feel bad as someone who, like, the social elements of life were like, I'm a social person. I've got like that element of things has come easy to me. It doesn't come easy to everybody, but I sympathize and I feel bad for people that like
don't get it.
They're uncomfortable in their own skin, or they're so comfortable in some type of skin that it makes other people uncomfortable, which is maybe what George is.
but you know, I think he is that. Yeah. But I think he also thinks that he gets that. He in his own mind, he thinks that he's you, Brian, with all the social skills, and that's why he says any milk, because he thinks he's being the bloody suave, sophisticated Piers Brosnan. Like any milk. In his mind, that sounded like
it's a robot. He's got the AI quality. He's like, I studied what it means to be relatable and human, and this is my best attempt at it.
It's not that, George, bless him, but he is a bloody good driver, Brian, which is sad, and he's committed. Reminds me of Nico Rosberg in 60. George is the type who will bring his pillow from home to the Grand Prix to make sure they max it. I said, not even joking, Brian, I've heard this.
I know, he does it. He does it.
He's
I know.
that type of guy, right? He's the type of guy like Nico. He's going to see a sports psychologist once every other day for 2 hours a week. I think Nico even said that George is the closest to him as far as how committed he is. And I think it's commendable, chap. But people do not give a fudge because they see him as a vanker with a W. That's all that they see. Full stop, new paragraph.
We'll see what he can do the rest of the year, because all he has at this point is winning, because it's not going to get the other elements of it. Okay, red flag for Monaco.
Oh my gosh, mate. Are we even allowed to talk about this one? Okay, I do not believe that Kim Kardashian is a good thing long term for Sir Lewis, given her track record of dating high-level sports athletes. Mention no names, Chris Humphries. Mention no names, Odell Beckham Jr. and Reggie Bush, all of whom at one time were burgeoning hot prospects, young ones too. What happened to all of those? But did any of them even play high-level sports anymore? Not to do a causation correlation fallacy, because maybe they were just getting to that sunset stage of their career anyway, and Kim Kardashian is a convenient scapegoat. However, honeymoon period, everything's cool, but long term, nobody escapes the Kim Kardashian or keeping up with the Kardashian blast radius unscathed, particularly if you're a high-level sports athlete. And that, as a big fan of Lewis Hamilton, dating back to even before he was in F1, that, Brian, leaves me concerned.
Interesting. I don't know, man. He's been driving great this year. Listen, this might be what makes the fall that much worse, because it's going right. Everything's going well right now, and maybe you are right that the fall will be that much harder because of this. But I don't know. I'm loving it.
Are you really?
I'm loving it.
Right? Don't be a prisoner of the now, sir. I'm sure you've seen the community at this stage for saying that because of the relationship, the burgeoning, loving relationship between Lewis and Kim Kardashian, that Lewis Hamilton deserves a 2,000 second penalty for ignoring red flags of the Kim Kardashian variety. I'm telling you, mate, that story doesn't end well, I don't think.
We'll see. I don't think it ends poorly while he's driving. Again, he's got how many more? It's like, he's just got a couple more years. We'll see.
Saying,
I don't know. I'm not. Listen, maybe it's like it's not like he's at the beginning of his career. He's at the end of the career. This is the last hurrah.
So but go on then, bro. We've got to double click on this, mate, because this is getting techie. It depends on the lens through which you view the closing, the dying embers of Lewis Hamilton's career. If you want that dude to win an 8th, then you cannot, in the same sentence, say that you don't mind this relationship, because it cannot be. I just don't see.
But
that
look
it can
at
be
him.
positive.
It's been a kind of chaos the last few years for him when he's been single. He's been running around. Now he's like, listen, until he starts, I'm happy for him. He seems to be happy. He seems to be enjoying himself. I think some of these other men who would, sometimes with the power of if there's ever a person who can withstand the power of the dynamic, I trust Sir Lewis Hamilton to do it. I'm not giving that my red flag. What?
You know how you're not, Brian? I can't let this go. It's gone too techie. It's gone too techie now. This is the hill that both of us are going to die. So, yeah. Kim Kardashian, how long have they been dating, Brian?
I don't know, like
a while, right?
6 months.
So why didn't I see Kim Kardashian at the Canadian Grand Prix or the Miami Grand Prix? Why did she choose the Monaco Grand Prix to rock her?
Of course.
It's the biggest PR bang for buck, isn't it? And that concerns me. That's what. There's no way that as brilliant as Lewis is, and as well as he understands the PR machine, he cannot spar with the Kardashians and the way that they understand the PR machine. And I feel like my hunch is that Kim is laundering her reputation, since she's been getting booed all over the show through the behemoth that is Hamilton GP, like brand Hamilton, and that concerns me.
I hear that. Yeah, I don't know how, I don't know how much they're, are they meant to be together? I don't know how good the dynamic is. But I also don't know how involved it is. Like, it might be for fun. It might just be like he might enjoy. Listen, when he was 2008, who's in the paddock? Jumping up and down, screaming, this is a little bit get the mojo back. Like, it's not his first time dating a high profile. I mean, he's dated. This is not also his first time around the block dating a high profile person. Now she's maybe the apex predator of that.
It's not his first time around the Kardashian block even. And
right.
But again, he without sin cast the first stone, Brian.
I think that he's enjoying the kind of like mojo-ness of like, I'm with Kim, like, yeah, like, let me get, you know what I mean? Like, I remember a time in my life, I graduated from college, and now we're just, God, we're going completely off to the rails here. But I graduated from college, and like, life kind of punched me in the face, and I wasn't ready for it. And I was kind of very, growing up, confident, kind of cocky, had a cockiness to me. And then when life smacked me around a little bit, I kind of took a more passive, approach to life. And I remember my parents would sometimes want to put me in check, want to put my cockiness in check. And then I remember I had a conversation with my mom, and she was like, what happened to my like cocky, confident son? Like, you got to kind of find your way back to that. You got to find your way back to some of that inner dog in you. And it took me a while, but honestly, through this podcast and through taking my life into my own hands, I kind of found some of that. And to me, this whole relationship feels somewhat similar from Lewis. Like, it's been, since 2021, it's just been sadness. You know what I mean? Like, they took it from me. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about it. Like, it's been, like, the goal was so cruelly snatched from him. And then he was in this chaos of Mercedes in the ground effect era, which wasn't the car. And now he's like made this move to Ferrari, and he's dating. It's just like, it feels like he's a bit of a kid again. And I think we're seeing some of the results of that on track. That's how I kind of am interpreting it now. Who knows how it'll end? But for right now, I feel like it's getting him his mojo back, and she's a part of that pie.
I think, sir, you are a victim of, you are a prisoner of the moment and a victim of causation, correlation fallacy. I think, being honest with you, I think Lewis and the rules has more to play. The no more ground effect, that he can be a V-line merchant again. He can be last of the late breakers. I think that has more to do with the Lewis Hamilton resurgence than Kim Kardashian. But whatever, mate.
Who needs engine braking when you have Kim Kardashian? Okay, my red flag, I gotta give it to the FIA, the chaos that was today. You're trying to make Formula One a top tier sport, something that anyone can come into and jump into these waters. And the product that was on track today was a mess, would turn any new fan away from this. This was, you walk into a room, everyone's screaming at each other. You can't even keep track of what's even happening. The fucking sinkhole, the 85 penalties. It's a mess. You got to do better. That's my red flag of the day. I think that does it for us. We've got Barcelona coming up. What do you think's going to happen there?
I hope George can find himself again, can have a word in the mirror and realise that he's a brilliant F1 driver, and that the hopes of the F1 world are on his shoulders for a competitive season. I want to see George, maybe not always, at least a first or second place, and no bloody reliability issues or setups or timing of safety car. I just want George to be able to do like he did for 30 laps at the Canadian Grand Prix and remind people that personality notwithstanding, that he's a really, really good driver. That's my hopes, mate.
I hope you're right. I'm with you. I think George at least puts the pieces back together. Who knows what will happen with Kimi, but I don't think that I think George is on the podium. If he's not first, he's second. I think that it's back to some type of regularly scheduled programming with regards to that. Cameron, thank you so much for coming on the pod today. Where can the people find you? You've got an incredible YouTube channel. What do people need to look up?
It's Cameron CC on YouTube, where we just talk about and argue about, and just F1 conversation and modes of discourse, silly and serious and news and whatever. But it's Cameron CC on YouTube is the place where you can find him.
Hell yes, that is the man with the plan. And this pod wouldn't be possible today without Cam, but it would also not be possible if it wasn't for our Patreon members, and more specifically our daddies. So we got to thank them. We got to thank Kayla, Robin, George Texera, Jay Lingle, Spencer Grieve, Javier, Sheila Valeri, Chandler, Ali Santana, Carla Juarlo, Kimberly Whalen, Alonso of My Face 69, Donya Dada, Deadbeat Daddy Muhammad, Jimmy, Kimmy, sponsored by Mommy the Pod, Hollister 584, Delusional Science Fan, Cat, Future Dog Tour Dion, Steph Grossi, Laura, Emily Gillenwater, Cody Hullis, My F1 Daddy, Branch W, Keep Up the Science Hate, Hunter Scruggs, Salmonella Mozzarella, I'm a Leclerc fan, and yes, it hurts, and it hurt a lot today. Jay Kess, George Russell's Evil Peter Parker from Spider-Man 3, Matt Edwards is always right. I wish I was Max and Danny's love child. Delaney Andrews, Henry Caskey, Miles Lewis Alexander, Maggie B, Kaylee Breyer, Eva the Y, Devin, aka the Future Dr. Sullivan's PA, Courtney Frazier, Yuki Sonoda's other mother. Jenny is the reason I am a daddy. Megan, Aaron, Pineapple with a Y. Matt has a secret boner for Carlos Sainz. Unfortunately, it's Gary. Carolina, my name is AJ, and fuck the HOA. K-Mag can fuck smash my door any day. The official F1 race program and an executive editor, Sarah. I got tickled by the Tifosi. Hey Jet, good luck out there. Allison Sane, Zhuzh, F1 Dude Company, Trent Slickman, Code Brown Sonoda, Jerome Ferreira, Colapinto is a fraud, Aaron, Shahid Jeans, Rockstar Chohan, Gotta Lick My Balls, Say Furshel Leclerc, Truthbringer, Mama Burns, Arthur Leclerc is hotter, Carlos Science, OP Goblin, right meow, James, DNCTT, Finney, Daddy Kev Not Magnuson, Mr. Ed, Bobby, Lando Norris's unofficial girlfriend, why do I always hawk 2 on this name, Winkin, Lizzie Y, Jafar from afar, Stroll Pay the Troll told to get in the boys' hole, Andrew Prisco, Rojo the Bambino, the Great Paulbino Sausage, Boy Atticus, Uno Cinco, and our newest daddy, Scott, Men's likes Cappuccino Lays. For show, honorary daddy week. This week, every week, one Nicole Piastri. If you want to go to be Gab, my daddy, the pod, go to patreon.com/TRFpod and join the resistance today. Thank you so much, Cameron. Goodbye, Venkas.